Yeah, just the space to think and be creative and, like, come up with, you know, a next move is is really strange. Like you said, you haven't had it since high school?
Yeah,
Until when? Until when?
until I stopped coaching, like this last was it July or August? Yeah.
What do you feel? What's different?
It's funny, man. I feel it's kind of interesting actually, because in some ways I feel like I'm more easily agitated. So like for example, like I have to like turn the notifications off my phone now because when it buzzes at me, it like makes me like upset kind of. But
Mm,
not because not because like some a friend is trying to text me or something, but just because it's like interrupting my like silence, you know?
yeah.
And I don't like being I like to choose when I go in and out of silence now. And I'd say that's been the biggest readjustment is just like getting used to the brain not always having to be thinking about something or like always having to do something. Like my mind has always been just like a never-ending log of to-dos. It's just go down the list. Like, what's the most important thing? Do that one. What's the next important thing now? Do that one next. And then it's just constant. And I do that all day long, and then I go to bed. And it's just constantly like do. And now it's like I start off my day with meditation and prayer, and I start off the day not looking at the phone. Like I just leave it in the bathroom charging, where it's charging all night out of my room. And I just don't pick it up, and I just make my kids pancakes, drink a coffee, do a little bit of studying, and then straight to my meditation and prayer. And then that just kind of sets me off in a state of just like calm peace with a lot of creativity flowing from that calm peace, you know? And then yeah, I get really interesting ideas and thoughts and things to try. But more than anything, I feel like my body's able to recharge, you know? I feel like my recovery is better. I feel better, my energy's better, but I'm also more aware of my energy, which can be frustrating at times, you know? You're like, dude, why am I so tired right now? Or why am I agitated? Or you become like more sensitive in a way, you know?
Mm.
Um, so
That
yeah,
phone, notification, I have not had my phone notifications on for years. Like, and I don't know if that frustrates people because if you call me and I answer, then I had the phone out and it was next to me and I can see it. Otherwise, my phone never rings, never text message dings, nothing. Like I haven't even heard that in I don't even know how long, maybe 5 or 6 years.
dude,
One day I
that's
turned one day I turned it off and I was like, oh, that's awesome. It's like I'm tired of hearing that thing ding. But I also do a really good job at getting back with people.
yeah, I was gonna say I've never noticed you like not being responsive or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's not because you can just put it within your boundaries of when you want to look at it. It's not
Yep.
controlling you, you're controlling it.
Yep.
And I think that's huge. I wish
I
I would have
just
done
set
that 5 years ago, man.
Yeah, I just set some times during the day that I know I'm gonna go back to the phone and work in those periods and follow up with everyone, touch base, like all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's actually pretty huge. Well, arr. Yeah,
Yeah,
we hear that all the time.
if I get on the
I
ground, he just starts going at me.
Yeah, yeah.
I need to find a place to put her where she's not hearing.
No, no, that's awesome. I've got mine out of the room.
I'm not sure. Outside or something. Sorry about that, man.
Oh, no worries. No, man, I think one of the things that has been so interesting over the years of knowing you as, a college athlete, a professional athlete, a post-professional athlete, is watching. I don't even know if this is accurate because we've only interacted in small doses over a lot of years. Um, but I feel like when you were really training hard, like it was almost like you didn't have energy for anything.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that'd be correct.
And I just see so much more joy with you. And maybe that's like just outwardly, maybe inwardly, there was a ton back then as well. But like I see you enjoy stuff way more.
Yeah, that would be accurate. And it's just, it's like, think about like whenever anyone is tired, like you're just kind of like moping around and nothing seems that great, and you're just tired. You just need to sleep, You just need to rest. And so that's something I've been talking to Sarah a lot about. We're looking at things, what can we tweak with her training going forward? And we're like, dude, I feel like so important. Just keep yourself in the positive, keep the body in like a good state. Like don't like stay away from drilling it. So we're starting to like put some more stuff in place with like heart rate training and stuff like that because it's like people like Sarah, myself, yourself, we love to push, like that's fun for us. So we'll drill ourselves into the ground and have the best time ever. But then it might take me like 3 days to recover from that, or I might not recover at all if I'm unmonitored and allowed to go as hard as I want. So now, like, I was running in the canyon this last Monday. I did rim to rim to rim again. And yeah, dude, it's canyon season, dude. I've been in there
Nice.
4 times in the last month. I ran into some dudes down there. They're like, "How often you come down here?" I was like, "More than my wife would like me
And
to."
probably longer at a time than she would like as well. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Well, the thing is, I go super early because it's hot down there. So like one time, dude, I got up and at like 2 a.m. and then left the house at 3 a.m. was running by 4:30. And then I did rim to rim to rim and I was back in time. I could have picked up the kids from school at like 4:30. So I'll just go early and I'm back fairly early, but those days will tire me out a little bit. But again, like it's funny, dude. If I keep my heart rate low, I'll run. I mean, it was a 9 hour run that I did, and I was pretty much running the whole time. I didn't take a lot of breaks. And I felt fine coming out of it. My quads were real sore as expected, but energy wise and stuff, like the next day, my energy was fine, but I wasn't like taking my heart rate super high. So going back to what we're talking about, like having some things in place where the workout is like, do not go over 160 beats per minute. And if you do, you have to rest until your heart rate comes down to 140, and then you go again. Stuff like that, and then like what your lactate numbers are as well. So, because his heart rate's so individualized. But I think, uh, I think if you get the training right and don't overcook things, like you can keep getting better for a long time. But then the other component to that is being able to fix things in the weight room. Because I'll come back from these 9 hour runs and I've been running all kinds of funky for the last like 5 hours because my adductor's tight or whatever, and you're kind of getting around it. You change up your stride. But then you take mental note of that and you go back in the gym. You're like, okay, let me balance everything out, do side to side motions, hit the adductors, abductors, and then get my hips back in alignment, do the strength. Because that's what I see with a lot of distance runners is they don't do the strength work and then their body gets super weak and their body breaks down because muscularly they can't hold good positions anymore. So I think if you have those two things in line, you're stacking training that is not too intense, and then you're gradually building progressively, and then you have the weights to go in there and balance the whole thing out, and you're good. And my approach to weights has changed a lot too. I'm like, you can't drill your legs in the weight room, like so I've like lightened a lot up. It's actually interesting seeing like some of my athletes after we stopped working together, they've all been running super well, like which I'm stoked on. But I'm also curious, like, okay, like what did they switch up when we stopped working together? And a lot of them, like they lightened up the lifting and then their legs are feeling better and they're responding better. And I was like, yeah, dude, I think I was overcooking things in the weight room. You can't like do a bunch of heavy lifting and be hitting hard workouts at the same time. It's just too much. Body can't recover that quick.
So have you heard of this guy named Anatoly?
I don't
He's
think
like
so.
he's a Russian. I think he's Russian. Or somewhere around maybe Czech Republic. Um, I'm not sure quite where he's from, but he is like 180 pounds, something like that, 190. And dude, he lifts like pound for pound. He's one of the strongest guys in the world.
Wow.
And I was following and listening to him, and he is a proponent, and maybe he does other stuff as well, but in this one like segment I was listening to, he's a proponent of lifting the same motions more often, heavier, but not as many heavy sets.
Hmm.
So in other words, like if you were to be a bodybuilder and you go in the gym and you're trying to gain size, you need time under load, right? You need
Mm-hmm.
tons of failure, lots of sets, lots of reps. So he's going into the gym. He may be deadlifting 3 or 4 days a week, but he's doing a warm up, a build up, a couple heavy sets, and then he's done with it.
Huh.
And so it's like this idea. I've actually been playing with that a little bit in the weight room where instead of lifting super heavy for a bunch of sets, like warming up, hitting one or two good sets, and then being done with that and moving on to something else.
Mm-hmm.
So, where does that stand in the context of what you're talking about?
I think that's great for building strength for sure, which is super important. Like I said, you got to have the strength to hold these positions that we're in and running for so long. I think that's really interesting. I'll be curious to see. You have to keep me posted on how, like, if you know, or have you noticed progress with your numbers getting better or what's happening?
So, I haven't really been doing it long enough to see like long-term progress, but what I have noticed, to your point, is I'm not sore from lifting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm doing it at the correct level. Like
Yeah.
I'm able to lift way more often and still run. It's not affecting my running negatively. And
Mm.
I've kind of done what you're talking about. I've a blend. Like I've backed off the intensity of some of the reps and still grabbing like a rep or two of 4 reps, pretty heavy, and then I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like you get that strength component, but it's such a low dose of it that it's not ripping my legs up for the next day.
Yeah. Does it work? Are you squatting doing that? Because
Yeah,
I was,
only
yeah.
only half and quarter squats though.
Yeah, see, I think that's smart because I think
Yeah.
to me, like it all depends on the lifts that you're doing. Like anything that's like a full squat or a full lunge or like those deep, deep like movements like that just freaking crush the legs for so long when it comes to running. But like I noticed when I was lifting real heavy, if I could have a huge deadlift day where I do 10 sets, bunch of heavy lifting and I'm going like super hard on it and I would feel fine running off that. Like deadlifting seemed fine, but then if I squatted like that, my legs were gonna be trash for like 4 days. And that's where it's like I couldn't get away with it. So I think it can like it can be done. Like I like that, and I'm thinking with my own training because I was like I would like to get back to some heavy deadlifting because I feel like that's something that I could do as a runner and it'd be beneficial and I could still be strong in the movement and not have it affect my running. But with squatting, I'm like no, I just can't do squatting and like heavy lifting, but I'll still do like kettlebell squats sumo style with it around my waist on a chain where I'm trying to like go for depth and length. And like I like using also lifting for trying to get more range of motion, trying to get more yeah, range of motion. Like my hamstrings more open uh through things like straight leg deadlift, for example, you know. Uh but yeah, I think it could be part of a well-balanced program. And then there's also like when do you do it? You know, as long as I wouldn't necessarily lift super heavy before going into the canyon. You know, like how I'm lifting now is like more about just addressing and balancing. But really, I think for me, lifting has become more about balancing the body than about like trying to hit numbers with a certain lift or accomplishing. It's just like, let's just keep the body balanced so I can keep it healthy and it's moving well and moving forward, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that same mentality you were talking about with running and not going 100% on every workout, doing that in the weight room. And I think that's the hardest thing to do when you're a
Yeah.
motivated athlete and you want to be good and you don't want to be good next week. You want to be good now. But I think about other sports. I love thinking about like, what if we were in the NBA and we had an 82 game season? Like you can't go all out on Monday when you got a back to back on Tuesday.
Hmm.
You've got to pay attention to your effort level and you've got to lift during the year. You can't just stop
Right.
lifting for 82
Right.
games. You're going to be weak by the end of the season.
Yeah.
And so I really think running, we need to adopt a better mentality with our workouts and a better mentality in the weight room where 80%, 85%, 90% some days, and then the occasional really getting after it. But that needs to be really under control. But I think
Hmm.
that's the mistake we make so often is we flirt with that 90, 95, and 100% all the time.
Hmm. And I think the other thing is we don't realize what's taxing on the body and what's not. You know, it's like you can go run 2 hours at a low heart rate and come out of that pretty well, but you go run 10 by 400 real hard on the track and you're going to be freaking waxed from that like for a while, you know? So, like, realizing how helpful it is to back off the effort to 80%, 90% on those interval days so you're not leaving yourself in a hole. But yeah, the principle is just keep yourself out of holes, you know, keep the body
Yeah.
feeling good. And only the athlete, I think that's where the athlete has to figure out the art of running and training and learn like, okay, like this is no longer helpful for me, my body and my training to keep pushing beyond this amount. And it's not a source of weakness or mental failure or whatever. Like if you're having to pull out all these mind games to like get through your workout, then you're probably like just running too hard and you just need to chill out. But it's also helpful if you have someone there, a coach, to be like, hey, we don't need to freaking. But I mean, I tell Sarah that all the time, and then she still just goes as hard as she can in her workout. So then it's like, well, then she has to wear a heart rate monitor, and we got to do some lactate testing, and I got to be like, hey, your heart it's too high. Like I don't care what the time is. Like you have to chill out and make her, and she'll hate it. She won't want to do it. She might not even be able to do it. But I really think like it'd be super beneficial for her to take the edge off her training, that she'll respond better and just put herself in a positive state, and the body responds well to that.
I think that's part of what's happened with running getting so much faster is I think we're figuring out, and I think lactate in, certain people that have made it really popular have given us a really good way to measure because heart rate
Hmm.
lies sometimes too.
Hmm.
Like if it's hot, you can have a really high heart rate and
Yeah.
you're fine. And then if the temperature is absolutely perfect, there are days when you're flying and your heart rate is relatively low, but the lactate doesn't lie. Like you
Right.
can actually see what's happening inside your body from a metabolic standpoint and to make an adjustment. So I think that's part of the reason. I think the other reason is, man, I wouldn't be running right now as much as I am and as well as I am without super shoes and soft footwear. I was gonna ask you, so I read a comment. I read your 204:58 day comment on I think it was Let's Run or somewhere. Like so Connor Mance was asking about how fast of a day it was gonna be, and you were like, I think it's a 204:58 day with super shoes or something like that. What was the comment?
And
What was the
so
what
I
was the
saw him.
context?
I saw him in the warm up area, so I was just talking to him, and it was like him and Clayton, some other dude, and fellas, I was like, it's a nice day to run. I was like, you guys should freaking work together and just hammer out there. And they're just all sitting there, and they're like, yeah, yeah. And I was telling them, I was like, I don't know how it came up, but I was just like, I think like you don't have a tailwind, but you have super shoes, so it's like an even race now.
That's great.
Got
So
got the boys going a little bit.
that's awesome. And man, they ran great.
Oh yeah, they ran awesome, dude. It was fun to see. They were rolling.
They ran amazing. Um, did you see Des Linden's comment?
Sarah mentioned someone said something about don't be a bitch ass or something coming down the last stretch she was thinking, which is so funny, dude, because she wasn't even I mean, I think she ran smart. Like she ran smart, got the most out of herself, finished as high up as she should, but she was
Yeah,
never in the race, She was never like with the players, like actually giving
yeah,
herself a chance to like podium or do anything.
yeah,
Um, so the fact that she's talking trash in her head to coming down the stretch, number one, just shows me that she's wildly distracted and her mind and heart is not in the right spot at all. So my number one is reaction is I feel sorry for her because she's
yeah.
mentally clearly not in the right state.
Well, that's not even the comment I was talking about. I didn't know
No,
that
really?
one. No,
Yeah.
she said something about super shoes ruining the sport.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Dude. Okay, so this super shoe thing is really interesting. I
yeah,
had some really interesting conversations about super shoes, dude. So I heard, and I can't even tell you who my source is on this because they're anonymous or whatever.
yeah.
But the guy who won the men's race, John Career, right?
Yep, yep,
Well, his brother is Wesley Career.
yep.
I heard that super shoes were his idea. Like he was the one who came up with it.
Wesley or John?
Wesley.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like he was the one like that came up with the idea of the putting
A
the carbon plate with the he's
soft
like
phone.
yeah, because at the time he was like still running and he was really good. And like from what I heard, like Nike came to him and was like, hey, we're trying to like build something, a shoe to make things faster. What do you think we should do? And he's like been running in these flimsy shoes that everyone's been running in. He's like, dude, my legs are just getting destroyed by these. It'd be nice if I had a super light, really cushy shoe. And he's like, you guys should like just go to China and find some like really light foam and put a carbon plate in there and that way it'd, like protect his legs. That's what
Wow, that's
isn't
pretty
that crazy?
cool. That is pretty
Hey,
cool.
I'd never
Well,
heard that
I
before.
mean,
So it's
I
really
mean,
interesting.
honestly, that's the truth. Like, I remember, running 80, 90 miles a week and just being totally just sore all the time. Like, going to a friend's wedding and like standing up for 2 hours was just brutal,
Dude,
you know?
standing is the hardest thing. I'm
Yeah.
convinced that like the reason why I can run like across the Grand Canyon and back is because like I spend a lot of time like doing dishes and like cleaning my floors and like
Yeah.
on my feet all the time.
You want to avoid standing is what you're trying to do. Keep moving so you don't have to stand.
Well, yeah, dude, like
Yeah.
running's way more efficient than standing because
Yeah.
you can relax your stride between strides, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
back to your point though, you're
yeah.
standing around
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah. There's no way. There's no way I could run at 44 this much and feel good without better shoes. So I think that's absolutely incredible. So I
So
have
how
been
often are you using them?
on track sessions, workouts, like fast long runs. And then on easy runs, I'm still wearing like non-carbon fiber, but like really soft shoes.
Hmm. I'm
Yeah.
always curious about, I was thinking about this myself when I was in the canyon. I was running down and I was in these La Sportiva, kind of more cushy shoes, you know? And I was noticing, I was like, dude, I feel like it's kind of like bothering my plantar a little bit because I'm like not as stable in it. Because you know how when you're in that cushy shoe, your foot hits the ground and just does this a little bit. It's like,
Yep.
like I'm always in my mind, I'm like, I like the idea of cushiony shoes, but then sometimes I feel like I like my feet, like stuff comes up in my lower legs, and I'm not like liking the firmness of my ground contact in a more cushy shoe. So I don't know. Sometimes I go back and forth on it because I see the benefits of the recovery aspect, you know, but sometimes I don't like what it does like mechanically, you know?
Yeah. 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 I mean, definitely doing some training not in super cushion shoes is good. And like being in sandals and walking barefoot and balancing that out. I don't
Hmm.
know. I just know for me, injury wise, I'm way better in a soft shoe.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, so Rory, you were saying you were wondering what some of the athletes were doing different. Like what were the changes that helped like moving from them coaching you to going to the next phase? So I had this conversation with Rory the other day,
Yeah.
and I can't remember what specifically brought it up, but I was just congratulating him on, man, a great race. He ran
Yeah.
he ran
You're awesome.
really bold, and it paid off. And like he definitely got to that next level. And I feel like his training and his racing, like from the outside looking in, has been very linear. Like
Yeah.
I feel like he has just
Hmm.
ratcheted off improvements, like
Hmm.
little bit after little bit. And when someone does that, there's a tendency to be like, what was the big breakthrough? What was
Right.
the thing? That's
Right.
what people always say. That I feel like people say that, ask that question when they don't really understand that there is no big thing,
Right. Right.
right? It's a
Just stacking
process
things up.
and just
Yep.
putting things on top of each other. And
Hmm.
so what he said, I think my interpretation is the changes he made are just the natural progression of
Mm.
training, right?
Hmm.
Like, so it's just, he just went to the next step. But
Yeah.
he said the two things he introduced was he ran even more volume and he added double threshold workouts and then continued to do all the other things.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's interesting because you could take that comment and you could be like, oh my gosh, everybody should run a ton of volume and do double thresholds. And that is the thing, right? Or you could look at that and say, okay, he had done this volume for quite a while and he added more. And he had done all these workouts for quite a while and he added training load to one day of the week.
Hmm.
And the athletes that I've given double threshold and when I've done double thresholds, inside of Training Peaks, it gives you a metric of training load. And those are the biggest training load days. Like I can't get my training load bigger with
Hmm.
with a single workout
Hmm.
because again, you have a diminishing return with one workout, right? You
Right.
can't go 130%.
Right.
right? You can only go 100, and maybe that's too much. But
Right.
if you can go 80% rest and go 80 to 90% again, now you've stacked this massive volume for the day. And if you've done it with lactate testing, then you've done it in a controlled manner, and you perhaps have the biggest training load day you could have. So anyway, that's what his reply was of what helped him get to that next level. But my thought is that was just the natural progression of next for him.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And another thing he did a good job of was I'm always like trying to get guys to do like 3 15-mile thresholds in their buildup. And Rory hates the 15-mile threshold. It's like his least favorite workout for marathon training. But he still, like him and his
He
coach,
still does it. Yeah.
yeah, he did 3 of them in this buildup. He's like, and he told me that before Boston. He's like, dude, I did three marathon or 15-mile thresholds. I was like, nice, dude, that's gonna pay off. So he's still like doing the stuff that he knows he needs to do that he doesn't necessarily like to do. And
Yep.
that's the sign of a mature athlete. Like an immature athlete just gravitates towards what they're good at, what they like. Just hit that stuff hard and then they neglect their weaknesses, you know? So he was real smart in his buildup. He knows he's got a good handle on like what works for him, and he's just stacking it up, like you
Yeah.
said, the next
Yeah.
progression.
He even said that. He was like, that was one of his like non-negotiables, was his 3 15 milers. So
Nice.
so it's funny that you say he doesn't like them, because I've paced him on two of them, I think, at least one of them.
Yeah, that's
That
right.
that day that he didn't look at his watch, and I had his heart rate. I had
Yeah,
his
that's
watch
right.
on, and I was telling him, you're good, you're good. All right, let's pick it up a little bit. You're good, stay
Mhm.
there. And then at one point in that workout, because I know how late in those long workouts sometimes you think you're slowing down.
Yeah.
Like when you get in a
Mhm.
rhythm, you feel like you're in molasses,
Right.
but it's just the fact that you've gotten used to it, right?
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
body's settled in, your brain's like, okay, I'm going to let you do this.
Hmm.
And I was noticing like the look on his face was like, oh man, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I know that you may not feel like it, but you are maintaining pace and your heart rate's
Yeah.
in a good spot.
Yeah.
You're running great. You're running great. There's no need to do anything different. Keep doing what you're doing. And he said after that, he was like, man, that was so helpful
Hmm.
to know, because you just get that sense that you feel like, oh, I'm falling apart when you're actually
Hmm.
not. That brings up a point that I've really been focusing on in workouts. Um, it's like this idea of an object in motion tends to stay in motion.
Yep.
And I think a lot of the times when we get deeper and deeper into a workout, we think we need to push harder.
Mm.
When it's like all you got to do, like once you get up to speed, like all you got to do is just keep it going.
Right.
You can keep running fast if you just keep it going. I
Yeah.
think if we had a monitor, I think if we had a like instead, I think Garmin does a reassessment of your pace like every 6 seconds or something like that.
Uh-huh.
I think if it was like every tenth of a second, I think we would see that a lot of the times we over speed up right before we slow down.
Let's kind of put ourselves in a hole a little bit. Yeah. And that's another thing Rory's really good at is knowing where his lines are at. So he's out there running in Boston and they're doing this like surgy stuff and he was smart. He was just letting them go and then he was catching up on the downhills. That was the same way I ran Boston too. It's like there's no point in charging up and fighting on these little tiny hills and then just chilling out and you start jogging. And it's just a stupid way to run. So he was smart that way, because if you're right on the line and then you start charging and racing someone up a hill, you put yourself over, then you gotta slow down a lot to catch your breath.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. I think the hill brings it out and makes it
Yeah.
even more obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think we all do that a lot during workouts. I think we slightly overdo it, and then you end up slowing down, and then you fight back, and then you slow down, and then you fight back and slow down.
Yeah.
So I've just with the athletes that I've been talking to and coaching and myself, I've just been trying to be conscious of like let it flow, let the speed be there, and like settle into like not over pushing.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to. If you feel like you're hammering, you're probably just going too hard. And that's where the heart rate's really helpful. Like it just eliminates the guesswork, it eliminates the mental battle, the mental beating yourself up. You're just like, just park it between 160 and 155 or whatever it is. And you just keep it right in that range. And if you're having a hard time getting it that high, it means you're too muscularly tired, like there's something, or your nutrition is off, or you're dehydrated, or you're overheated. There's all these reasons why you can't get your heart rate up, but it's not because you're mentally weak. It's
Yeah,
because something's going on that's allowing you to not be able to get your heart rate up. And you got to figure out what it is and what's the proper adjustment then as you're going in that workout.
yeah, yeah. So I had one thing that I thought about with transitions. There's so many athletes that used to be a professional athlete and they're not anymore. And then if you take that to like the non-professional sphere, you've got athletes who are known for being runners and then they get hurt for 3 or 4 months. And so you get asked, "Hey, how's your training going? Hey, what's the next race?" And it's just like so disappointing sometimes to have
Hmm.
to take that barrage of being asked the same question from everyone. And I've seen you go through that transition over the last several years where you're not a professional athlete anymore and you seem to navigate it well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been pretty easy to be honest for me. I think it's because like for me what I get excited about is I love to train. I love physical challenges. I love to push myself. And so I can do all of those things like outside of race context. I don't even like need a race, but I just need like something in my mind that I'm excited to go after. And it hasn't been a race in years and years and years, decades. But but there's still something out there though that I wake up in the morning and I'm
That you're
like,
chasing.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like stoked
yeah,
on it. So
yeah.
it's like for a while there's lifting, trying to get all my numbers up and see what I could do in that way. And then I kind of fell back in love with the mountains. And so now it's like these routes out in the mountains that I dream of doing and the whole physical and spiritual experience of those times. So I think that's the thing. It's like you can never, if you ever stop being yourself, being you, you're gonna find that it's tough. Life is tough. You're not happy, because it's not a good feeling to stop being yourself. So you got to know like what makes you tick and how to keep being able to manifest yourself, but perhaps in a different way, in a different sphere, in a different activity, but you still get to be you. And I found as long as I get to be me, I'm a happy individual. So, yeah.
I think you have a cheat code for not getting asked too much about racing. And I think, I don't know, 6 months into retiring, or maybe 8 months, something like that, you were just significantly bigger.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think people were like, "Oh, he's done."
Yeah, yeah, it's
'Cause
pretty
you, I
obvious.
mean,
Yeah,
it is obvious. Like
yeah,
I think that kind of was a benefit for you
yeah.
to
Mm-hmm.
not still be physically the same look.
Mm-hmm.
What was that conscious at all, or do you not even care about that? that aspect. You were just doing what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I was just doing what I
Yeah.
wanted.
You're just doing your thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just
Yeah.
like it was like running, and then the next thing was like, let me see how big and strong I can get, you know? And
Yeah.
then so I was like, let's start
Yeah.
doing that. And
Yeah.
then it's actually almost like the interactions I would have as a result of that were like awkward, and I'd rather just avoid those altogether, but they happen. I mean, there's times where I was like in a elevator in London next to the announcer of the London Marathon, and he's like asking Sarah where I was, and I was standing like right next to him in the elevator.
Yeah, see, cheat code. That was the
Yeah,
cheat code to not have to answer those questions. You didn't look like you.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as everyone's concerned. They're like, that can't be Ryan.
Plus,
Uh,
I just have a thing like I just don't like staying the same. I don't. I just don't. And so like I'll change until the day I die. Like I'll just
so
keep going after
so
change.
what do you mean by you don't like being the same?
Meaning I like to go after things that make me grow as a person or individual or physically, mentally, spiritually. Like like I'm not content to just stay how I am in any way. But it's not because I'm not content with who I am, but it's who I am that loves to progress and change and grow. And I think honestly, I think that just comes from who we all are as human beings, as I see every human being having a bit of the divine in them. And the divine is always expanding, always growing, always is not the same. That's what makes pursuing the divine so fun because you might find it today and it might look different tomorrow, you know, like your experience will change and grow. It's not the same, you know, so yeah.
So I think that's like the Garden of Eden, like mountain mentality, right? Of exploration. So
Yeah.
somebody told me recently that I always thought of the Garden of Eden as like a flat place, like a garden, but it was actually on a mountain
Huh.
and it was
Never heard.
hilly and like you could explore. And I feel like you have um really like this mountain mentality. Like even racing or pursuing lifting or it's like I want to see what's on the other side of that
Yeah.
mountain.
Yeah.
Like what's the it would I think it would be so easy to do a 9-hour run, a mountain adventure, and get kind of like in despair at points, right? I don't know where I am. I'm hungry. I'm tired. Like,
I don't know if
what's
I
the
get back.
yeah, I don't know if I can get back. And it's funny, the one I think you did a trip from your house and you ran out of light and you're using your watch battery or whatever to see and like are you experiencing despair in those
No.
moments?
No, never. No. I've never I've only had one moment where like I started to kind of panic a little bit, and that was because I was way out and way up high on this mountain, and I came up this way and then I looked and there's cliffs everywhere, so I had to come down the same exact way I went up, you know? And then I didn't put cairns out, little piles of rock, you know, that marked the way like an idiot. And so I got up there and I turned around, I looked back down and I was like, oh, dude, I don't know how I got up here. So I was like, I just had a second where I was just like, dude, what if I can't get myself off here? But then I was like, dude, don't be an idiot. Just like take a couple deep breaths and like just start trying routes and you'll find. And I found a better way down than I went up and stuff. I was fine, you know. But that was the only moment I've ever had in the mountains where I was a little panicky. But I will say this. It is to be taken seriously, you know, like I took a group down into the Grand Canyon 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks ago, and I had to call 911 it was at 10:30 at night. It's like half mile from the end of this 42-mile run. And, I was with a friend and he was super dehydrated, had been dehydrated for a while, and he was throwing up and then started like having a real hard time just stuck on the trail. He couldn't move at all. And so we had to call 911 and we talked to search and rescue for a while, and they're like, "You're just really dehydrated. Just sit there for a long time, just sip electrolytes, and you'll be able to get yourself out of there." And sure enough, he was fine. He got himself out of there. But seeing someone go through that where they like can't move is like. Then the next time when I was in there doing rim to rim by myself, that was definitely going through my mind. I was like, dude, you gotta take this
Don't
stuff
get there.
seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I think they'll see me pop out in the mountains, like way the heck out there, and they've been backpacking for like 3 days to get there, and I pop out with no shirt and like a little flip belt with like hardly anything on it, no water. They're like, dude, this guy's an idiot. He's gonna die out here. But they don't know, like in my flip belt, I have like matches, I have Vaseline, I have stuff to pop blisters and take care of blisters, I have super glue, I have like all the little things to take care of problems. And I'm like, what I love about being out in the mountains, especially if I'm by myself on a long solo day like that, is you have to be super aware and present in what you're doing. So
Hmm.
it trains a focused mind. And that's the thing I need the most right now is just the ability to be able to focus my mind. And that's what I'm working on through meditation and prayer and stuff as well. But you take what you practice in meditation just sitting there. If you can do it just sitting there, then you try to do it in the weight room right afterwards. You try and do it in your run. And it's amazing what you can do when you're actually present in how you're moving and you're actually focused on what you're doing. Your mind's not just wandering all over the place. But that's why these experiences are so different than running on the road. Because in the road, it's kind of like being on a treadmill. There's not like a lot of obstacles out there. Of course, you're thinking about how you're running, how you're holding your body, what your competitors. There's a million things you can be thinking about. But when you're out in the mountains on all these routes, you're just thinking about just making sure your next footstep is good, making sure that rock that you're grabbing onto is firm enough to hold you if your foot falls out. So you're just having to be super ultra aware. And then you get in that, you've been in this really ultra aware state and a completely undistracted state for 12 hours or even longer. Like that one route took me 23 hours of that. And you're actually like in such a peaceful, calm state. So like after I finished my rim to rim run this last Monday, I got back in the car and I didn't put on music or an audio book or anything. I didn't listen to anything in the canyon either, and I was just solo. But you come to like love the peace and the stillness and the tranquility of a focused, even mind. And then yeah, so then when you're in that state, whatever you choose to focus on, it's like you learn a lot about that thing, or you'll have a lot of good observations or curious thoughts about that. And then you just kind of go into it. And that's where interesting kind of uh training ideas come from for me. Creativity kind of comes from that place. Like if I'm like checking my phone a million times and running all over the place and talking to a bunch of people, I'm not having a lot of interesting thoughts. It's mainly just like taking care of business. So like one thing I did when I came back from Boston, because it's a lot of social time, but it's all good stuff. Like I love the Boston weekend. But you see like people constantly and you're constantly talking to people, which is great. But after that, I just came home and had my first day of silence I've ever done. So that was a cool way to like kind of refresh the battery after a very social kind of Boston time period and kind of get back into the more kind of like contemplative, quiet, tranquil state. So if anyone ever wants to try that, I highly recommend it. That's what Gandhi did. And he'd do it once a week. And he said it was like the most like spiritual part of his practice was that day of silence. And it's a cool experience. I learned a lot about myself and about listening to others during that time. It was cool.
So I'm assuming you let everybody know, or do you just not talk to them all day?
No. Dude, well, so it was interesting because I had never done before, and I I wasn't planning on doing it, and then I got up and like did my meditation and prayer, and something came up, and I was like, oh, this is the perfect day to do it. So I just decided to do it, you know. But then I'm making pancakes for the girls after my prayer and meditation time, and Jasmine walks in, and she's like, "Morning, Dad. How you doing?" And I was like, "Hey, good morning. How are you?" And I just totally forgot that I was even doing the day of silence. Like right off the bat, I blew it and started talking, you know? And I was like, oh, dang. Like as soon as I started talking, I was like, that was stupid. But I was like, lesson number one is like stay aware. Like you gotta like be mindful as you're going throughout your day that you're not talking. So then I wrote like a little card and I was like, today's my day of silence. But I also like wasn't like trying to go out into public and stuff. I was just hanging out at my house and with the kids. Like I wouldn't do it if it was like Boston Marathon weekend or like,
Sure.
but if I'm just mainly at home, that's why it's kind of like a perfect day for me to do it. But then Sarah walks in and I'm making pancakes after that. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to screw up this time. So she walks in and she says something to me. And I just looked at her and just smiled because I was right in the middle of making pancakes. And then she thought that I was like being mean to her or something. So she got mad at me. And so then I was like, oh no, dude. And so now my wife's mad at me on my day of silence. And then my other daughter, she walks in and I'm making pancakes. She doesn't say anything, but she's the daughter who like doesn't talk before like 10 a.m., my youngest. And so
Hmm.
she like didn't say anything to me. I didn't say anything to her. We just like didn't say anything to each other for a while in the kitchen. She left for school. She never even knew I was doing a day of silence. She was totally unaffected. Funny how like you and different people experience your silence.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's awesome. Where do you think this time is leading you? I mean, I just think it's super cool to watch, like you're focused on prayer, meditation, you're focused on time out in the wilderness, exploring. But I also know that you don't do things without purpose, and you don't do things that are aimless and like, and maybe that's not a great question. Where is it leading? Because maybe the point is you don't know, and you're just looking, you're waiting for where it leads. But all these trips that you've done to cool places, um, Ecuador, you went
Egypt, Mount
to
Sinai.
Nepal, Egypt, Mount Sinai, like all of these places. There's got to be there's got to be some takeaway that's like gonna lead you somewhere. Do you know where that is or what that is? Or maybe it's like a whole bunch of stories and experiences that you have no clue where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know a little bit. I'm definitely just on a spiritual like quest right now, for sure. It's been really interesting, the stuff that has been coming up, the things I've been learning, the people I've been interacting with, how I've been growing and experiencing God in different ways and stuff has been super cool. It's already been like life changing. But it's like anything you experience in the spiritual is also connected to the material, you know? So it's like when I stepped away from coaching and went into number one, I was just following my curiosity, you know? It's like whatever I'm most curious about, like I'm gonna go fully into it, you know? And so it wasn't like I was burned out on coaching or not wanting to do that anymore. It's almost more like, where can I look for knowledge and wisdom in regard to training and running and the human body and movement and everything that we're doing at Run Free and everything I'm doing with my own body and with other athletes. But where can I find wisdom and knowledge? And uh, and I'm not really the person who's going to be the best at like being a researcher. So like, there's people out there who love like reading about everyone's training and digging super deep into the science and all that stuff. And we need those people. And I love those people. I love to have those people tell me the things that they're learning and observing, but that's not necessarily, uh, I've been always more of kind of like an intuitive and experiential learner, I learned through my own experiences. Um, and also learn like almost more in like a mystical kind of way, if you could call it that. But like where you're trying to connect with God and just get wisdom on how to do things. And so this is kind of like a way for me to uh it's interesting. It's like, for example, like a lot of like the yogis from the East, like they knew a lot of the stuff that we're discovering in science, even now, they've known for a long, long time. But they figured it out through just turning within themselves and finding it within there. And so that's the kind of knowledge that I'm interested to learn about and potentially pull into the running space. So like for example, like with meditation, I'm doing it for a spiritual purpose. Number one is the purpose is to connect with God. That's always been my number one driver of my life since I was a kid, for whatever reason. My parents' influence, just how I am, where I grew up. I don't know if I could completely answer where that comes from. I think it's kind of innate in most humans, though, if you dig deep enough. I think we all have a desire to connect with that energy inside of us that makes us alive. It's like these bodies that we have, it's flesh and blood, but it's the life within it that makes it all come to life and to actually be us. So like we're like the life, we're not the body, we're not the material makeup. And the material part of us will one day not be there anymore, but that life part of us will like always be there. So I think there is that part within a human to want to connect with the life source of who we are. Life source, God, like you could call it a million different things, and people call God by a lot of different stuff. But I've definitely like always had a heart to want to connect with God. So that is the biggest driver, but then there's so many manifestations of what happens in your material body as a result of that, which things like studies on prayer and the benefits of, like, there's no doubt that it doesn't matter what your religion is. Anyone who practices prayer is going to experience a substantial drop in stress, cortisol. Like, good things are going to happen in your material body just by you sitting there and praying. So, like, for me, meditation was a way to connect with God, but it's also like, dude, I can't run anymore. My body is too tight. Like, I'm holding too much tension in my body. And so am I just going to stop running and give up and do something else? Or am I going to figure this out and figure out how to not walk around holding so much tension in my body? And so meditation was a way for me to do that, to learn to let go of the tension that I'm holding. And if you sit long enough, and you try to sit still enough, you learn how to let go of tension in areas that you hold it. Like I'll feel areas in my shoulders where I'm holding it and I'm like, all right, I can't connect as well with spirit right now because I am being pulled into my body from this pain or this tightness or this discomfort, and I got to learn to like get past my material body first before I can connect with spirit. So like a lot in meditation, a lot of it, the first year or even more is just spent learning to just sit still in a comfortable way. And it's a very, for runners, for me, I couldn't sit still for like 5 seconds without something hurting. I was so tight. So it took me, I've been meditating for almost a year and a half now, and I can finally, like sit in one position and not move for a decent amount of time, like 40 minutes or so, which for me is great because that gives me time to really connect with the spirit because I'm not aware of my material body. So to answer your question, like as I've gotten more into meditation, I've noticed my recovery is so much better than it's ever been. So like I used to say like sleep is the most restorative beneficial thing a runner could do. Like I've always said, it's like performance enhancing drugs. Like, so take your sleep super seriously. And I would still say the same thing, but I would say that there's even a more restorative state where you can be even more relaxed than when you're in sleep, in a meditative state. But you have to be trained how to get there. And you have to be, it's exactly like training, exactly like running. You're starting at the beginning, you're gonna suck at it, and you gotta just keep showing up time, and you just gotta keep practicing, and consistency and practice is everything. If I'm only meditating like once a week, I'm not gonna get very far. It will still be helpful. It's better than nothing for sure. But like consistent practice is everything. It's the same thing with running or weight training or anything, right? And so I'm grateful for those, how running has actually prepared me for my spiritual practice. But now the two are helping each other, you know? So I can go run the Grand Canyon, come home, sit for an hour and a half and meditate. And I get up from that and I'm like, dang, dude, my body feels pretty good. And go out and run 10 miles a couple days later. I'm like, body's good. Body's recharged. Body's feeling strong. And then also the other thing it trains is your mind, right? So it's like I'm out there running in the canyon and I notice my thoughts so much more now because now I'm trained to be aware of my thoughts and to try to hunt them down quick and not have any negativity. That's a huge thing that I'm working on currently, is just like not having any negativity in the mind ever. But if I'm running through the Grand Canyon, you're like, oh man, I'm starting to feel pretty tired, or I feel this thing start to hurt me, I'm gonna blow up, or like you start to have these negative thoughts, and that's an opportunity to go back to your practice and be like, identify it quickly and then shift it to what you want to be thinking about. Um, and it's the two help each other. It's really cool, like integrating both the spiritual and the physical together and see what's happening. It's pretty crazy what is happening too, because I'm not training that much. I'm only running like 3 days a week or whatever, but I'm I'm way heavier than I ever was racing. I'm still like, it was like 168 this morning. I raced at 138, so I'm still 30 pounds over race weight.
Mm.
But I'm still like, I can run across the Grand Canyon and back in 9 hours, which isn't too shabby for like just a regular dude. So it's fun to feel like today I was out running in the mountains and just like I was, dude, it just feels good to feel strong. I don't even care like what pace it is or how fast it is or whatever. I just like moving and feeling strong and having my body feel good and having things flow, because that's when it's easy for me to connect with God and with spirit, is when things are kind of in that flow state, and you feel like you're not even having to work. So
So I made this comment to you, I don't know, maybe a year ago, year and a half ago, and you laughed at me. So I want to tell you this comment I made. So we were at your house, and I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, but it really challenged my mentality. Um, we were talking about training, and I said, "Well, you can't really work out all day." And you laughed, and you were like, "Well, you kind of can. You can work out all day." And I was, and that was like, "Oh, he works out all day." And I was like, I get it. Ryan has an all day workout mentality, like it of what's possible. And not to say you work out every day, all day, but there are certainly days when I've been around you where it's like, it sure seems like you've worked out the entire day, like nonstop. Like we were hanging out one time and you're done with your run, you'd been in the weight room and you had like, I don't know, a 35 or a 45-pound dumbbell, and you're just standing there for like 45 minutes and we're talking and you're passing the dumbbell to yourself between your legs, right? Like it's just like, what's going on here? And so I've got two comments on that. Number one, obviously everybody can't work out all day, and everyone can't meditate for 9 hours in the Grand Canyon. It's almost like we're getting to see a maximal pursuit of this kind of mentality in an individual, in yourself. And we get to observe it as, you know, outsiders. And it's kind of cool because typically you really learn well. Like you're pursuing learning and wisdom, right? Like you're pursuing um, where God's called you and where you feel like you need to be. Dude, that's so motivating for everyone else to watch, in the same way it was motivating to watch you run New York and win the trials and be like as pumped as I've ever seen you pumped, right? Like
Yeah.
that was cool. Like there's thousands and thousands of people that are like, especially back then, were like, I'm Ryan Hall today. I'm winning New York marathon, the trials, right? And so I think this is so interesting because I don't know that it's very often you see somebody pursue wisdom and connection with God like that big. But that's just what you do. You pursue things in big ways. I want to say, so my second thought of that is um, there is a difference in your body when you feel like you have to do something as opposed to when you feel like you get to do something.
Definitely. Yeah.
And so I feel like that difference in mentality is something that the everyday person can tap into in moments, right? Like there's things you have to do, like you don't want to do the dishes necessarily or the laundry or go to work some days or take care of all these details that are mundane and boring, but you can go into those things and go into workouts with like a get to mentality. I get to do this. I don't have to do it. I get to. And there's a study that looks at the genetic response to mentality. When
Hmm.
you get to do something, your body changes genetically, like different things are turned on in your mind and different connections are made and you do it better. Like so
Hmm.
they you can take people and you can assign them tough tasks. And one, you frame it as you have to do this, and the other frame it as you get to. The get to group does better every single time. And so
Yeah.
that's one of the things in my mind I've been trying to practice is when I'm on the track or on the trails or doing a race or hill workouts or whatever, is having that mentality of, I did it today. Like I was on the track, I had my last 800-meter repeat, and I was questioning whether or not I was going to be able to run it faster because the previous one I was like, oh, dude, it felt pretty tough. Like I'm not
On the
sure.
line.
Yeah, I was a little bit on the line, but I was like, you know what? I'm not going to look at any splits, which is something I've gotten really into. Like
Hmm.
looking at it afterwards instead
Yeah.
of being so dialed into the moment
Yeah.
of that
Uh,
and breaking my rhythm and breaking my arm motion. Like I know I'm going to run 800. I know what a good 800 feels like. I'm going to try to stay in the moment and flowy. And
yeah.
I was actually today thinking about um what did I put aside today to do this? Like I put aside all these things that I could be doing and I'm exactly where I want to be.
Yeah.
I'm right where I want to be. I'm happy. And I was
Mm.
forcing a smile like
Yeah.
during the 800, and I was like 2 or 3 seconds faster than the one before, but it felt better.
Nice.
And so I think what you're really doing is you're exploring ways you can do this on a big scale, but I think it's accessible to people on a much, much more like intermittent scale in between. It's available at work, it's available at home, it's available in relationships. Like connection with God, I think, is one of the things that is available always.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just identifying him in everything. He's in every creature, he's in everything. Anything that has life, he's in it, you know? And so it's just walking around just aware of that and seeing it, you know, and feeling it. It's like you're out there running those 800s today. It's like you have like God like coursing through your veins, dude. It's actually cool when you think about it that way, you know. But it does take like a shift in perspective, you know, because it's easy to just be out there and start feeling sorry for yourself and talk
Yep.
yourself out of things. But yeah, like you're saying, if you want to be there and you get to be there and you're looking for the opportunity too, you know, it's like, dude, like this is an opportunity for me to grow or to learn or to do it better the next time too, you know. It's like you see some of the stupid mistakes you made in the past and you're like, well, let's not do that again. That wasn't fun, you know? So it's fun to get to be a little bit older and do things right, you know?
Where do you think lying to yourself plays into this? Like, and so I'll frame the question. So when we did Humphreys several months ago,
Yeah.
and we were coming down the mountain, and we found that bottle of Gatorade
Yeah, water.
electrolytes, yeah, that desperately needed. Um, uh, I said something that was a lie, but it was just because I knew I needed to say it to get through it.
Uh-huh.
Right. So we're coming down the mountain, and um, I think we had that water, and you said something like, "Yeah, this will help us not cramp on the way down." And I was like, "I've never had a cramp." Right. And I knew what I was doing. Right.
Uh,
Like I knew what I was doing. I was just telling myself, there's no way I'm going to cramp.
yeah.
But in reality, I was kind of starting to feel a little crampy. Right. But in the moment, it's like you're at the end of something and you're like, I feel good. You don't actually feel good.
hmm
But the worst thing you can do is to dwell on the fact that you don't
Yeah.
feel good.
Yeah, exactly. Or to just introduce the idea of cramping it all. You know, it'd be better to just not even have that be a thought in the mind, you know? Like
Yeah.
I ran into when I was running today, I came back and I ran into Mike Smith and Nico Young, and they're out there getting ready to do a double threshold or whatever at Buffalo. And Mike was like, "Yeah, Nico just got back from Germany, just got off the plane or whatever." And I was like, dude, I always feel really good getting off an airplane. I was like, I love international travel because I've like never sit down that long. So I usually feel really good, you
Yeah.
know? But it's like my goal in saying that was not to boast about the fact that I travel so well. It's for me to get Nico to think about his situation in a positive light and be
Yep.
like, oh yeah,
Yep.
dude, yeah, actually it could be good getting
I
off an
got
airplane.
some rest. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any kind of positivity you can bring to any situation, it's gonna be so much more helpful than dwelling on. It's same thing with getting sick, right? It's like you start thinking about getting sick all the time. I swear that's when like people start getting sick. You know, it's like it always comes during taper time. You're like, I can't get sick. Start putting hand sanitizer on a million times a day. And what happens? Like you get sick or someone in your family gets sick, but it's because you're like thinking about sickness, you know, and not that like thinking about things, but thoughts are seeds too. Thoughts are seeds, and those seeds, like you water them by dwelling on them and with your will. It's like the will is what takes that seed and turns it into energy of action. Then that action manifests real results in real life, you know? So that's why thoughts are so critical, you know? And that's the kind of stuff where, you know, we can talk about workouts and training methodology and weight training stuff, But like at the end of the day, it's like if you're doing your weight routine, I found myself doing this too, dude, recently. Uh, so the thing is like with my transitions, because I transitioned from running to lifting, and my lifting was always getting better because I suck so much at it, right? And so always getting stronger. So my mindset in the gym is like, yeah, feeling good, yeah, feeling good, yeah, feeling strong, yeah, 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 yeah. And then you just get momentum, dude, and pretty soon you're eating an insane amount of food, you're getting like super strong, and you're just getting this huge pile of momentum going. Now, at the same time, if I wasn't running at all, but if I was running, I'd have been like, you suck. Your running sucks. I feel terrible. I'm so heavy right now. I feel so sluggish. I feel so heavy. I'm so out of breath. And you know what I mean? And so then the
Hmm.
negativity mind comes in and just takes over. And so what do you get? You get more negative results. Things just get worse and worse. They snowball downhill. Luckily, I didn't go through that because I wasn't running. But now it's interesting because I'm running more and my running is going better and I'm out in the mountains. I'm like, yeah, dude, I feel good. I feel more like my old self and stuff. But I'm in the weight room and I'm like, I can only bench 225 twice now. I was like, I used to be able to do this 16 times, dude. Now I can only do it twice. And it's like that with every lift except for like body weight stuff. I can do more like pull-ups now than I could do, but every other lift, like the numbers are just off the table way less than they've ever been. So then you're in the weight room. I'm out running and it's positivity, but I'm in the weight room and it's like, this feels heavier than it felt last week. Why is it feeling heavier? Why do I feel weaker? And I know why. It's like, dude, you can't have
Yeah.
everything. It's like you
Yeah.
can't be your strongest self and your fastest, lightest self. Like those two things don't coexist. But in your mind, you always want everything, you know? And so it's learning like to catch that negativity when it comes into your mind and be like, I'm not gonna water those thoughts because those are not helpful at all, and those are just gonna keep pulling me down, you know? So
I,
thoughts are
I think that
critical.
I think the dangerous thing about thoughts are also what you watch, what you see, and what you hear. Like
Absolutely.
those I think are even, I don't know what uh analogy to draw with a seed, but it's like those like are like fertilizer for the thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like that can make a thought explode in
Yep.
positive or negative.
Yep.
And one of the things that happens is if you watch and you look at negative things and you're around negative people, it is really hard to pull yourself out of
Yeah. Yeah.
that. It's
Yeah.
and it's exhausting. Like I've experienced this with a few relationships, like coach to athletes sometimes and friends. And I really have to watch sometimes how much time I spend with people that are really negative because it exhausts me to combat that all the
Right.
time. But I
Right.
also but I also feel like that God's put me in this position as a coach and a friend to be that person for them,
Yep.
right? Because man, I have so much blessing and so much good in my life. Like I've never experienced like crazy trauma or I've got a great relationship at home. I always have. Like people have just, I've got really good friends. People have just taken care of me. Man, that makes me feel a pretty big burden to, you know, be kind and take care of other people and do it in a
Hmm.
way that's super encouraging. But at the same time, I'm susceptible just like everybody else is. If I spend too much time there, like it does draw me in.
So what's your take? So say like if you're at a practice and you have someone who's like just real negative all the time, do you call them out when they're being negative or do you just like because sometimes like I just won't respond at all. Like they'll say something and I just won't like partake in it, you know? Because that's like the easiest energy wise. Like I don't have to do anything. I'm just like I'm not even gonna address it. But then you're not helping them like shape their mental.
Yeah. So my thought there is that if you see the underlying cause of their thought, then you have to correct it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see the mistake in the thought process, I have a great one that I always correct athletes on. So when you take 2 weeks off from running and then you start back, you feel horrible. And there's a couple physiology things that are going on there. One is your blood volume is way worse. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you stop challenging your blood volume, it gets thicker and it's more viscous. It's harder for your heart to pump. You don't retain as much water when you don't challenge sweating in in those systems. So that's fixed in like 5 to 8 runs. So
Yeah.
like a week and a half, and you're good. The other big thing is neurologically, you're very uncoordinated when you take time off. So you start back, and that again takes a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And so if someone's down in the dumps about their fitness, oh, I'm out of shape, I lost all my fitness, then I just remind them of those
Yeah.
physiology things. And I'm like, hey, your red blood cells are still there. The half life is 90 days. That didn't change. Your capillary density and system and transport is still there. Your lung capacity is still there. All of these, your mitochondrial size and density, like all these physiology things are like right there.
Right.
You just gotta uncover a couple things and you'll be right back in the game.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you see something like that, then I entertain it. But if it's like oh, I'm just having a horrible day today, then no. Like that's not entertainable because there's no logic to follow that up with, right?
Right. Right.
And also I think sometimes you have to let people some people process internally and some people externally more.
Yeah.
So you got to recognize that. And if you haven't, like I coached a girl when I was coaching in college. I promise you, after every rep, she was about to cry and she would scream at me. Like she would yell at me, but she would have like amazing workouts. So this girl went from 20, this is crazy. She went from 22 minutes in high school. She ran for me in college, which is why did I even accept her on the team? Everyone was like, "You're dumb." Um, but I could just see something in her
Hmm.
as an athlete. She's very athletic, only ran 2 or 3 times a week and ran 22 or 21 minutes. So she
Mm-hmm.
ended up running like 1740
Oh,
by her
nice.
senior year.
Nice.
And she would scream and yell and whatever. So I never entertained it. You just let them go, right?
Yeah. You're just like,
So I
there's
think
blowing
that's
off steam.
yeah, yeah. And you do sometimes you need to be able to blow off steam.
Yeah.
I remember this one time. So I built a pool in my backyard after
Yeah.
never built a pool before, but I just decided I wanted to do it. And in the process of putting the lighting in the pool, I accidentally cut the power to the lights. And I had so many cuss words in the backyard because it's take like 3 hours to fix it. because
Oh.
because these wires are underwater, so you
Uh,
can't just easily put them back together. Like you have to put them back together, you have to heat shrink them to get them to seal back up, and then I had to connect the pipes back together and rerun some of the wire, this whole thing. So my wife came outside because she heard me in
just
the
going off.
backyard just letting it fly, and she didn't say anything. And she let me calm down and she was like, "Do you need something to eat?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I think there are those moments where you're just like, there's no solving it, right? You just got to let it go. And then I think
Simon's
there's
so
moments
smart,
you got to
dude.
address it. Yeah.
She's like, I
Yeah.
know how to fix little boys
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, that's right. Do you need something to eat? Can I get you something to drink? I was
You
like,
need enough
yes.
Irish sandwich, I'll cut off the
The
edges.
edges. Exactly. Exactly.
Uh,
I think you told me sometime you were trying to do like a greenhouse or something.
yeah, yeah, that was my moment when I lost it. It's like a kit that I was trying to put together, and like none of the pieces just like don't fit together right, you know? It's just like just not that good of a kit, you know? It's like one of those like lower budget ones, you know? And so then you're trying to put it together and trying to like force things to fit in. It's just, and I was trying to do it with my daughters, and like I'm like, push it in here hard, and like I'm trying to like do something while they're holding it in there and it's not working. And I'm just like so frustrated after hours and hours. It wore me down. I think construction, dude, it's got to be the best opportunity to practice like patience and evenness of mind because it's so easy to lose it doing construction. Oh my gosh.
Especially if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, dude, yeah, definitely. It's frustrating when it's not coming together right. And then at the end of all of that, like I worked on this greenhouse for like multiple days, and then like we left for a little bit, and we had some like crazy winds, and it just blew the whole thing apart, and it's all bent up and twisted up and broken, dude. It's not just trash the whole
Did
thing.
you were you able to laugh at that point?
Yeah, at that point, I was kind of relieved that I didn't have to finish it. I was like, okay, I'll just cut my loss on this one. But I've not, we still have a platform out there that I built for it. And so now that's like my meditation platform. I just go sit out in the middle of it. I'm like, still serving a purpose.
Nice. Still a little bit like when you go out there, is there still a little bit of anger with the
No,
greenhouse, or
I'm
you let
letting
that one
go.
go? Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
okay,
pretty
good.
good at letting things go. I have a like a short-term memory with stuff that bothers me or stuff that goes wrong, you know. Like I don't I'm pretty good at just like letting stuff go. I like to hold on to the good memories. I try to anyways. But
When you were in Boston, did you ever end up working out at Equinox?
yeah, dude, I did go in there. I did. It was a nice gym, but it's a different vibe in there for sure. But yeah, no, it was good. Oh, dude, yeah, I had a good workout because I worked out with one of my other athletes came to town, like one of my original athletes. And so
Yeah.
we were like doing 20 minutes on the stair mill next to each other, and then we did like 20-minute row next to each other, and we were like doing like little competition style stuff. It was pretty fun actually.
Yeah, 20 minutes on the stair mill's legit. Stair mill's not
Dude.
easy.
Yeah, you can get so much done in 20 minutes. Like if you spend 20 minutes mindfully and hard, like you can get freaking fit on 20 minutes a day, dude. You can shift the needle a large percentage. I mean, when I was training to bring those water jugs out of the canyon, that was all I did was 20 minutes 3 times a day. And then I could do a 5 hour carry out of the Grand Canyon off that, you know? So, like, if you use 20 minutes well on the stair mill, do you know what I want to try on the stair mill that I'm gonna set up? I have it right now. I just got to set it up. Is I have an altitude mask, and so I'm gonna start doing stair
Oh
mill
yeah.
with a weight vest on. Start just real lightweight, but start at like 10,000 feet, and then just gradually work my way up to like some real high altitudes. So then I want to see like physiologically what happens because when I was training in Ecuador, we were with Tyler Andrews. He's a trail runner, but he's also trying to set the FKT on Mount Everest right now. He's gonna go like
Wow.
soon, like his window's coming up like now. I think he has like a 3 or 4 week window to hit Everest, and he's been training insane. But that was one of the things he would do. He was in Quito where we were, and he's at 9,300 feet, but he was on a stair mill with his altitude mask on, and he's at 26, 27,000 feet walking up.
Whoa.
Yeah, and like on the bike and stuff. But what was interesting is he felt like just like doing afternoon runs or walks on the stair mill. he felt like that really helped him with the altitude because that's his main thing, right? Is like getting used to the altitude. But we've seen such a big shift in Sarah's training when we go to 9,000 compared to here in Flagstaff at 7,000 that we're curious about how do we keep those altitude benefits sustainable? Because
Longer.
yeah, because I noticed when I come back from Ecuador, I'll come back to Flagstaff and I'm like, feel like sea level. I'm like, let me go hit all my routes that I measure and use to like measure my fitness on. And I'm like rolling, feeling good and strong, but it only lasts like 2 weeks. So it's kind of like, and it's most substantial, like right when I get back is the case.
Hmm.
So we're gonna play with can we keep those benefits around longer with this altitude mask, or can we even build fitness better just by not having to be sleeping in a tent where your rest and your recovery is compromised because that's not good. But can we get benefits by just 30 to 60 minutes? I'm gonna try it just starting out, probably just like 30 minutes 3 times a week and see if I can get some benefits from going
Yeah,
up to
that
altitude.
yeah, that intermittent high altitude, and man, I am a huge fan of the stair mill. I think that's injury prevention. I think it's speed development. I think it's like stability, like
Mm-hmm.
quad and
Yep.
ankle stability. Like
Yep.
if you video your legs on the stair mill, like you're fatiguing like
Mm-hmm.
pretty quickly. But if you keep it at the right level, you can really get after it and you can feel like some good, like run specific quad motions, is what I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's super, super helpful. It's definitely like one of my favorite things to train. The only thing you don't get with it is the down eccentric phase, which is kind of for me, what I'm doing is also important, because I've had times like, so for example, I did rim to rim to rim, and then I went to Boston after that. And then when I was in Boston, basically all I did was uphill runs besides our group run that we did, I did that. But besides that, it's just all uphill runs. So there's like very limited to almost no pounding on those uphill runs. And so I felt like I kind of lost some callousing in my legs because I only run 3 days a week. So I only got in like 5 runs before I did rim to rim to rim again. And the next time I went down there, I was like, dude, I feel like my quads are not as used to it. So it's like if I do too much just only uphill and I don't get that downhill, I feel like again, I'm kind of like imbalanced.
So one thing that you can do that I think does work fairly well on those days when you don't have downhills is just do some isometrics.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the isometric loading is very similar to the eccentric loading in terms of resistance to fatigue from the pounding.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the research is suggesting that running is actually a pretty isometric motion.
Mm.
Like you're hitting the ground and you're changing directions when you hit it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're waiting. It's a very quick wait, but you're waiting for your foot to take off the next time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get really good at isometrics, like you can reduce your soreness, your eccentric issue. So one of our athletes, Ben Bard, just ran Boston. He ran really well, and he had like a little hiccup, maybe 6 weeks out, and we had to transition some of his training to stair mill and isometrics, and he still was in great shape quad wise.
Hmm.
So that's a backup to the downhill running. Like, of course, you
Yeah.
want to do it if you can, but man, I try to do it all year round, incorporate it for
Yeah.
everybody. Some good, like, and I'm talking, um, if you were to do hip thrusters, but hold at the top with one leg, that would be a great hamstring isometric. If
Mm-hmm.
you were to do wall slides with like some plates on your quads and on your toes, like where
Mm-hmm.
you're getting some soleus and quad there.
Yep.
and then some calf raise isometrics where you're getting gastroc. Like that pretty much, like, dude, your body is pretty
Yeah.
bulletproof when you do those.
Covers the bases with that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That stuff's good. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sweet, dude. Man, that's a lot of stuff. I think anything we
What
missed that you're
what are
pumped
you
on.
what are you getting ready for next? You were telling me a little bit in Boston, but let everyone else know what you're training for.
So I this is I want to say close, I think it's 25 years or 26 years. I've run 440. No, 430 or better for
Gee,
the
that's
mile.
good. That's
So we got
really
a good streak going. And this year I ran 421 for the mile,
nice,
which
dude.
was which was like 3 years ago I ran 435. And then I really started to dig on my nutrition, like getting the supplements right. Like, I sent you that gene
Mhm.
test to do. We can talk about that another time. But like making sure I was supplementing with the things that I actually needed, making sure my macros were good,
Mhm.
really paying attention to that. And I went 435, 427, 424, 421 the last 4 years, which is crazy at 44. So I've run faster the last 4 years. Um, I mean, honestly, I just want to see how I can keep that going.
Yeah.
And in the fall, I have been doing like some kind of like big long event. So I did Pikes Peak a couple times. This year, I think I'm gonna really dig on like a 10K, 5K cycle. So that will build even better into like another fast cycle in the winter and spring.
You
So
gonna
and
do a peach tree? Peach tree?
I don't, I think I'm retired from Peachtree.
It's not your race, not your
Dude,
favorite.
dude, Peachtree, if it's a bad, I mean, you've done it. If it's a bad year, it is a brutal 10K.
It's hot and humid. Oh,
Have
it's
you
tough.
have you ever run well there?
No, no. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I ran well there for me once, and it
Uh-huh.
was like a hallelujah moment. But man, I mean, it's basically 3 miles downhill,
Yeah.
and then you've got two that are rolling and kind of uphill. And then you've
Mm,
got one that has some downhill in it. But dude, between 5K and like a K to go is so tough. And it's like 95 degrees some years or 80
yeah.
degrees and 90% humidity. Dude, it's rough. I mean, I love the race. I think it's super cool, but no, I think I'm retired from that. I'm gonna find somewhere
Well,
a little cooler.
have you done Boulder 10K?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've done Boulder.
You like that
That was
one?
great. Yeah, I love Boulder. Super fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that could be fun. Trying to
Yeah.
think what.
Have you done Boulder?
Yeah, yeah, I ran that one. I ran that right after I ran 204. And I think I ran like solid that year. But I never raced super great there either, which is surprising because I'm good at altitude usually too. I think I just never kind of like hit it in the right
Hit
kind
it.
of
Yeah.
spot, you know?
Yeah.
But
So what's your Mount Everest event? What's your top like thing that you're chasing?
yeah. Yeah, so right now it's this route that I came up with last summer. So last summer there's Four Pass Loop. It's the loop that it's between Aspen and Crested Butte, and it goes through Maroon Bells and stuff. It's kind of like a a really beautiful route that a lot of people do. It's like a 30-mile loop or whatever. And you go over four 12,000-foot passes. So last summer I did that loop, but then there's also some 14,000-foot mountains around there. So I went up uh, both Maroon Bells, and then also hit Pyramid, then hit Snowmass. And that was my long kind of like day that I trained for the whole year. I like to have like one big route that I'm really like training for all year. And I have it like pinned up in my gym. and like I'm like thinking about it all year long, you know? So that's why I'm doing this rim to rim a lot right now, is because I need to get to where just like running 45 miles is just not that big of a deal. You just can just go out and just run for a long time, just get it done, you know? Because I'm trying
Yeah.
to do the basically there's the Elk Mountains. That's the name of the mountains between Aspen and Crested Butte. There's 14,000 foot mountains on the elk in the elk traverse. And so the people have done one-way trips where you run and you hit all 14,000 foot mountains. Um,
Wow.
but to my knowledge, and what I would like to attempt to do is to do that, but in a loop form from Crested Butte. So park at West Maroon Trailhead, go out, hit Capitol, and that's the one that has the knife edge on it, you know. I don't,
Yep.
but people post videos that one a lot, and it's actually pretty tame and fun. Like the Bell's Traverse is actually more tricky and harder and technical than that little section of rock, but cool little section of rock though. It's super fun. But anyways, it would start there, go hit all 7 14ers, and then loop it back to West Maroon Pass. And I don't even know how far it'll be, probably like 55 to 60 miles, and it's gonna have an insane amount of vert in it, probably like 40,000 feet of vert. So, you know, you're basically going up Everest from sea level. So that's probably gonna be like a multi-day affair, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Can you even
Yeah.
do that in a day?
Yeah, no. People who have done just the traverse, I think I forget what the record is. It's actually fairly fast because this kid found like a side exit off Pyramid that cut off a bunch of distance, but I think it's a sketchy exit. So I got to get Mitch up
Mm,
there on Pyramid, and he's got to help me find that route down because I got to take that because it will save me so much time and distance. Like it will save me like 8 hours of running to go down that way.
wow.
Yeah, but
Wow.
it's sketch, and there's a chance I'll have to do it at night too. So I gotta figure out like timing wise, and yeah, it's a
So
route
how
you
are
can
you gonna
look
do
at.
the multi-day? Are you gonna like camp or grab a hotel room or are you just gonna keep
No,
going?
no, yeah, I'll just have a whole bunch of caffeine tablets. I mean, if I need to, I'll like when I was with my buddies, we were running rim, and I was like, hey, I just want to run up to the north. Like we came down to the Colorado River real chill, but then going up to the north rim is like another 15 miles up there, and just a nice gradual grade for 9 of it, and then the last 5 you hit a pretty good climb. And I was like, hey, I'll just meet you guys up at the North Rim. I just want to push like that section at like 155 heart rate and see what kind of pace it ends up being. So I did that, but then I had some time when I was up on the North Rim. So I just like got in the pine needles, dude. It was a sunny day and I just laid down there and just passed out, dude. Fell asleep for a while up there. So, you know, I can sleep in the woods if necessary, but I think the idea would be just keep moving and try to just get it done within it would definitely be at least I'll probably start at like 4 a.m., 3 a.m. or something, and then I'll go all the way through one night for sure. And then I'll just have to see how I'm doing and how long it's taking that second night. Maybe stop and sleep if I need it. Maybe I don't. But I know that area is like it's like my little paradise back there, dude. That's like my home. So I feel real comfortable in those mountains. I do need to do a little bit more, like I said, with that pyramid exit. But other than that, I've been on top of almost all those mountains and in that area a lot. So I can find a little place to bed down if necessary. But I'll
Yeah.
just have like
Nice.
I just have a filter bottle, so I don't carry any water. So I just have a filter bottle. And I'll just be drinking out of creeks and stuff like that. And then I'll just have a whole bunch of calories on me. I'll probably bring like 10,000 calories with me. So I'm just eating like
The whole
the,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yep. Yep. So protein as well, right? You'll bring a
Yeah.
good balance
Mhm.
of protein, fat, and carbs for that because there's no
Mhm.
way you can just go off of carbs. I mean, you
Dude, you
would
don't
have,
want to.
yeah, you would be so fatigued with the flavor too.
Uh, dude,
Yeah.
yeah, like when I get back from these things, like I don't want anything sweet, dude. I want
Yep.
like case and so I'm gonna start playing with like bringing things like quesadillas. I eat a ton of quesadillas
Yeah.
anyway, and like they fold up real easy and they're salty and cheesy and fatty, and I just bring like a bunch of quesadillas just so you have options. Because yeah, you freaking eat so much sweet stuff. You're just like, I don't want anything
Yep.
sweet for a while.
Yep. You're done. Yeah. That
Yeah.
satisfies the sweet tooth for sure. Hey, I
Yeah.
was going to ask you how, if you did not have a home gym, like you don't, let's play a pretend world. You don't have a home gym. How successful are you in what you're doing now without a home gym?
I don't know. That's a good question. Uh, I think I think now I could do, I think now I could be successful. I think doing the lifting I was doing before, I wouldn't be able to be successful. But now I think if I just have like a couple kettlebell weights, so like before we got on our call, I went for a run, and then I have like 100 pound kettlebell, a 75 pound kettlebell, and a 35 pound kettlebell, and I'll do like kettlebell swings with it. I'll do like single leg deadlift with it. There's so many different things you can do with a kettlebell, step ups with it. You can do calf raises with them. So things, kettlebells, bands, stuff like that. Like if I had enough of that kind of stuff, I feel like I could make it work. It wouldn't be ideal though. It wouldn't be ideal. I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
prefer it.
I just read this quote about if you really want to be successful at something and be at the top of your game, you have to have it accessible at home.
Huh.
So it was more talking about it was more in relationship to musicians than anything else. But I was like, I
Mhm.
think that applies to running and working out too, because for me, there's so many times where my day is busy. I've got a ton to do, and in order to get it done and still meet the demands of the day, like I need to still stretch, I need to still lift, I need to still do all these things. That time gets lost in driving somewhere and driving back. Whereas if I just go from my house, I can
Yep.
get everything done that I need to get done. My food's there. I don't have to like pack up a huge bag, all of those things. So I was just like, I think that's super important to have access to things from home if you can.
Yeah, at least be able to like fill in the gaps, you know? If you're like, dude, crap, like today just got away from me, you're not like, okay, it's a miss. You're like, okay, that means I'm using kettlebells and bands and stuff that I have here. So what would be like if you could only have a couple of things at home, what would you choose to have?
I would love to get some kettlebells. I have none. I just use dumbbells for
Mhm.
kettlebell stuff. So probably dumbbells, a jump rope. Dude, I love the jump rope. I do it every day. Every single day I jump rope. Single
I've been,
leg, double leg.
yeah. How do you do it? How long do you do it? How many reps do you do? What's your
I've gotten to where not counting that stuff as much anymore.
Uh-huh.
Like I'll just go do it. And if I had to guess, I'd say, you know, 3 to 10 minutes of jump roping
That's
basically
a
every
lot.
day.
That's a
Yeah.
lot.
Well, I do it in breaks, right? I
Yeah.
don't go
Yeah,
10
yeah.
minutes at once. I'll jump and I just don't let my heart rate get super high. Like I'll do a
Yeah.
little bit, I'll go do something else, put the dishes in the dishwasher, jump some more. This is like my morning routine before I get out the door to run.
It's the
And
perfect
then
warm up, huh?
yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And you know that feeling when you start your run and your like single leg stance feels like all jammed up
Yeah.
and you're like everything hurts with every step when you start. Like you can get rid of that
Yeah.
with jump rope, like in your lower legs kind of warmed up, but it's not like fatigued.
Right.
And then the first part of the run doesn't suck. That's
Dude,
why I
yeah.
like it. Yeah. And then I would say the other thing would be probably some type of way to do like a deadlift or a power clean or something like that. Like it doesn't even have to be like a heavy bar, but just
Mm-hmm.
some kind of bar to squat with or
Mm-hmm.
clean with. And I don't do heavy of that stuff, but I do love it. Like I love the feeling of having like hamstrings and glutes and quads turned on.
Yeah, definitely, dude. That's what I love about kettlebell swings is because they kind of turn all that stuff on. So I like doing that even for like a warm up. Like I'll do jump rope and some kettlebell swings and some weighted step ups. I really
Mm,
like weighted step ups a lot. Like so that's one of my favorite movements. It's so simple, but it if you do a high step up, it exposes like where you're weak, you know? And then you can really try and hone in on those places and get your stride like you're completely smooth and strong. It helps so much. But dude, I'm with you on the jump rope. I think especially as we get older, I think that's
hmm.
what you lose when you get older is your reaction to the ground and your impulse. Like I'm like obsessed with training impulse right now. So that's why I've got Sarah going on the jump rope recently too. But it's you got to like be careful when you start up on that thing because it will wreck your feet and calves and lower legs and stuff if you're not used to it. You definitely don't want to go like straight to like 10 minutes of jump roping.
Yeah, I think that's where the isometrics come in. That's your first step.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
hit some calf isometrics and like really fire soleus calf just under weight where you're just holding it because there's very little chance of injury there.
Right.
Isometrics are like you're not going to get hurt just
Yeah.
statically standing there. So,
Right.
well, dude, I got one more. This is the last one. So I noticed something different about you.
Uh-oh, it's just gonna be a long story, dude.
No, 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 no. It's very visual. Something
Okay.
different. You got to tell me about the tattoos, man.
But that's what I'm saying. It's a long story, dude. That story is like
Oh, that's a long story. We got time. I want to hear.
all right, so I got two tattoos. So I got this one on my leg. So that one, and these are in specific spots, right? So this is in this spot because when I meditate, I'm sitting in lotus posture, right? And so it's like that. It's facing up, you know.
Yeah.
But anyways, that is the cross that is above the burning bush. So, like for me, the burning bush was one of the things on my spiritual journey recently that got highlighted that I got super interested into. But the story behind this tattoo is kind of crazy and all over the place, and there's so much to it, dude. But long story short, I went to Egypt to Mount Sinai, which, is where Moses got the Ten Commandments, but it's also where like the longest ongoing monastery in the world is. And it's a Greek Orthodox monastery. It's been going since like the third century, and they've been protecting the burning bush. They believe they have the original burning bush that Moses encountered with when
Mm,
God first encountered Moses and gave him his mission to go set his people free from Egypt, which that whole thing, it's like a cool story as someone who loves the mountains because here Moses is wandering out in the wilderness. And when you're out there, these are huge, vast mountains, but all like super peaceful and there's caves everywhere. And it's just a really interesting environment and culture that he was wandering around in, but stillness and quiet was like everywhere. It's still that way. If you go out there, still it's just like you can go not that far off the beaten path and it feels like you're so far away from anyone. It's like pretty crazy. Something you have to kind of experience it for yourself. You can't like see it in a picture, but if you're there, you can kind of feel it. But anyways, when Moses found the burning bush, he's wandering on the backside of the mountain off the trail, and he sees this burning bush that's on fire, but it's not consuming itself. And that whole concept alone is a very interesting thing to think about, something that is burning but not consuming itself, because it's like in balance, right? So like uh it is, yeah, it's balanced. That's why it's not consuming anything. It doesn't need to consume anything, but it's still on fire. So, anyways, he wanders over there curious, and then that's what started Moses's whole thing of, and he didn't even want to be on this journey, but it was this curiosity that led him to that bush, you know? So, anyways, the bush is cool. Like I went and visited that monastery. I actually stayed in the monastery, and it's like your typical, like old school, like something out of like a kid's book or something monastery, you know? Super cool. The people there were really cool. And you're just in these beautiful mountains. It's kind of like Zion or Moab or something like that. It's kind of the vibe there. But then right above the burning bush, they have the cross that is now on my leg. And so it's been like presiding over the burning bush since, I don't know how long it's been presiding over it, but for a long time. So I was like, oh, dude, that's like such cool symbolism of the same kind of spiritual path I'm on now, where I'm following my curiosity and it's leading me to different encounters in different places and stuff. So that was one of them. And then the other one is this one, which I just got this. And this is also kind of a cool spiritual thing for me as well. So like this is Andean condor. And so this bird here is like one of the biggest birds that can fly on the planet. So its wingspan is like 10 feet wide and weighs like 33 pounds. But the cool thing about this bird is it's also one of the most efficient birds like on the planet. So it can go like 100 miles and never once flap its wings. And
Mm,
that's because it's just riding thermals. And so all it does is it lives on these cliffs. It waits for the sun to come out high in the Andean mountains. It's like one of the only animals that can like live up there that high, and it just comes out and it like has this stretching routine it does in the morning. I really want to see him out up on the mountains like
mm,
sometime when they're stretching and stuff on the cliff. I've seen one before, but it just flew over my head and it was super cool just to see it just like flying over. But all they do is live on the edge of these cliffs and then they just open up their wings and then they just start riding in thermals and they're just like playing in the thermal and taking it places. But they're also super smart. They know where these thermals lead. They know like, okay, I can go down and get this because they're condors, right? So they're just eating like dead animals or whatever they find, but they won't go down to just anywhere and eat. Like they only descend to places they know that they can like pick up 2 kilograms of body weight through eating and then still take off from, like they're super smart but also so efficient. And that's kind of like, to me in life, when special things have happened for me, it wasn't because I tried really hard. Now, was I disciplined and going after running, for example, in a very strategic and energetic and motivated way? Yes, of course. But I wasn't ultimately successful because I tried really hard. And that's also been the case for me with God too. It's like you put yourself in God's lap, but you don't earn God. You don't earn God's love. You just receive it. But to receive it, you got to know where to go and you got to put yourself there, and you got to just sit there and just be silent. And that's kind of like what the condor does. It knows where the thermals are and just knows like all it needs to do is just put its wings out and just ride them. And it's just fun, and that's how I feel now. When I'm running through the mountains, I'll be running through the canyon and I'll just be running. I'm just like airplaning like a bird, just riding it and just having the best time. And it's not effortful. It's not like I'm trying so hard. It's just like it's just coming to you. It's just flowing to you. And I feel like that's how I want my life to be. I want to be know what positions to put myself in life and then just let myself just ride the thermals and have it be um fun and playful and easy and uh blissful, you know, when I see these
Yeah.
birds in these thermals just going like this, I'm just like, that looks like the most fun thing in the world.
You know what's interesting about that is knowing where those thermals are and knowing where the food is. And birds have they know where the magnetic fields are and they know direction. And all of those things are just inside of them.
Yeah, just
They're
intrinsic.
just there. They're just
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I That always like shocks me watching newborn animals too. Like deer know how to walk right away.
Hmm.
Like stuff like that that God's put in these animals to know exactly what to do. And the cool thing about a condor and a bird and a deer and all those things, they're always going to be exactly what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine if they
Exactly.
tried to be another animal, dude, how frustrating
No,
they.
no, it wouldn't work. They would be
Right.
but they never would.
Right.
They wouldn't. They wouldn't
Right.
try it. Like it's
No.
not well, and you think about like dangerous animals when they kill people or other things or whatever, dude, they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
supposed to kill things. And if
Yeah.
you happen to get in their way, you might be the thing that they kill. It's
Yeah.
not their fault. They're doing what they're
Right.
supposed to do. Yeah,
Right.
you're in their world. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be mad at them for them being them.
Yeah. But no, I think you're right. I think God's given us things that we're supposed to do, and there's a way we're supposed to do things as well. Man, that's so cool. I'm really thankful for you sharing because I know that's super personal and super
Yeah.
like deep, you know, to who
Well, it's
you
cool
are
that
and what you wanted to do.
cheers. I got this. This is the uh, Cotopaxi, the mountain. It's like off of
No way.
It's off of the Strava map, but what's funny is that so I was in Ecuador and I always get up mountains. Like I might fail like once, but usually like the second time I'd get it where but I go up the first time I'm trying to go up it. It's like I've never been up that high. It's like 20,000 foot mountain, you know? And I go up the first time and I'm with Tyler and we're doing actually reps up and down the mountain, the
Yeah.
bottom
Yeah.
section. And then we're gonna go to the top and then snowed out, couldn't get up there. And so then in between the first time and the second time, I got this. And I was like, dude, if I get this tattoo on here and then I don't make it to the top, I'm gonna have this like constant, like, but now it's kind of fun because I didn't get up the second time either. It was like too snowy or whatever. But now, like, you're mentioning, like, well, what do you think, like, your spiritual journey, like, you're on? I kind of feel like I'm being like taken places to get unstuck. Like, for whatever reason, like all of us in life, we have things, especially with God, that we get stuck on, you know? And they're all different things. And I look at, like, for example, Jesus and the woman at the well. Like, when he met her and she's like, he asked her for a drink. He's like, she was like, why are you giving me a drink or whatever, that whole story. But what I love about it is like Jesus just cut straight to the chase to where she was stuck. And she was stuck, she was having affairs or whatever. And so he knew that. And so he was like, go get your husband and bring him here. And she's like,
I don't have a husband. Yeah.
yeah, I don't have a. And he's like, yeah, you're right. You have seven.
Yeah.
Right. And so he just went and he wasn't trying to like shame her. He was trying to free her, you know? But he went exactly to where she was stuck and it's like, okay, like now sin no more. Or like with the lady in adultery too. He's like, go sin no more and like now we're connected, let's go. And I kind of feel like that for myself. Like there's some areas maybe where I've been stuck in some of these, like going to Egypt and stuff and the burning bush and getting the tattoo. And like some of these things have been about me getting unstuck with some of the areas with God that I've felt stuck in. And I kind of feel like this is meant to happen, this journey up Cotopaxi, but it wasn't meant to happen this last trip. It's meant to happen when I'm like at the end of the spiritual path and I'm unstuck, similar to how Moses was getting the Egyptians unstuck out of slavery, you know? Like the Father, God, Spirit, whatever you want to call him, he's all about like us being free, you know? Like he wants all of us to be free and connected with him. And there's things in this material world that we get we all get stuck on sometimes, and so like when you set out on a spiritual path, it's about you and your own personal liberation, and then hopefully you're also, helping other people find their own liberation, their own connection with God or spirit, or whatever you want to call them. So um eventually I'm gonna find myself on top of Cotopaxi up here, but
That's awesome.
I think it's not going to be for a little bit, probably, because I still got a lot to learn. I'm not a fast learner, but when I get my jaws on something, I chew on it till it's gone.
Yep. That's awesome. Yeah, that was the same day I was doing my time trial at the
Oh,
track.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
That's right.
right.
I think that
Yeah.
was fun. We gotta do that again sometime.
Yep. Sounds good, man. Well, man, that was super fun to catch up.
Yeah, dude. Always good to
Really
chat with
enjoyed it.
you.
Really
Yeah,
enjoyed it. Well,
yeah.
sweet. I don't know, are we gonna cross over and flag this summer at all? Are you guys
We're going
gone
up. I
beginning
don't
of
think
June?
so. Yeah, we're going up like
Yeah,
beginning of June.
cool.
So, yeah, I'll try to get a list of stuff around here, but stuff
Yeah,
will be pretty apparent.
yeah,
But we're trying to also bust on a bunch of stuff because Sarah's not, post Boston. She has more energy for
yeah,
stuff. So we're trying to eventually we want to get to a point where we can just like Airbnb it when we're not in it and we're not close to that.
yeah,
I'm hoping a couple
yeah, yeah,
years
yeah,
down the road we can do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Are you guys
Sounds
still
perfect.
looking at properties up here?
Yeah, we've been looking at, man, I that's a whole nother conversation to talk about. But yeah, we've been looking in Fort Valley.
Oh, nice.
Or do you guys call it Baderville or Fort
Gatorville?
Valley?
Yeah,
Do-
either one.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know the difference between Baderville and Fort Valley. Like on the map, it says Fort Valley, but everybody calls it Baderville. So I don't really know why.
Yeah. I don't know why either. Is the road called Fort Valley maybe or something?
I think Fort Valley might be directly in front of Humphreys, and
Oh,
I think
Gatorville's across the street.
Baderville might be slightly on the whatever they would that be like the west side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think.
Of
I
that
don't know.
road.
I don't know.
That
But
would
yeah,
make
yeah. But yeah, I mean that's our like preferred spot. I'm waiting for somebody to talk me out of it. Like that's a bad spot. Is it a bad
yeah.
spot?
Just depends if you're like if you're not going into town all the time and you're not going into school, for example, I think that's great. It's just the winter time traffic, if you have people going, like there's certain times where you could just get like slaughtered and stuck in long line if you're like coming back when the ski traffic is coming back or something. But that and just like the school situation being a little bit further out. But dude, you're close to the canyon at that point. You're so close.
Yeah, yeah, you're an hour. It's an
Yeah,
hour. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's kind of why I like it. How far is Sedona from there?
Sedona. It'd be a decent drive. I mean, you could almost cut through on dirt roads to get over to the 40. There's lots of good running out there. Dude, I could run to Baderville from my house. I could be there in
Yeah,
like 5, 6 miles from my house. But yeah, it might be a little bit further to Sedona because you'd almost have to drive all the way back through Flagstaff to get down there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the
Cool.
canyon is right there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah, it's sweet. It's a nice area out there. I like it out there. Yeah.
yeah. All right, man.
All right.
Enjoyed
Good chatting,
chatting.
dude.
Have a good
Yeah,
one.
dude. Yeah, have a
All
good
right,
rest
brother.
of your day.
You too.
Later.
Bye.